just real quick before I introduce Melody, let me introduce why we're doing this. It's BFRB Awareness Week. BFRB stands for Body Focused Repetitive Behavior. It's a mental health condition that is kind of an umbrella term for specific repetitive movements that we do and that we engage with our body that are self-soothing, self-grooming, gone awry or gone overdrive. So things like hair pulling, skin picking, and nail biting. And last week we had the honor of hosting the Great BFRB Get Together, which was an internal community online conference. And that's where the healing happens, right? Together, learning together, growing together. And this is now BFRB Awareness Week, where we're trying to go more publicly so that people can understand these conditions and meet us with compassion, the compassion that we deserve. And so I'm having a blast here interviewing so many folks from the BFRB community. We've had the honor of having Melody join us for webinars on mindfulness and breathing. And so I'm glad that we get to do this because I missed that one. And Ellen says hi, by the way, Melody.
Oh, hi, Ellen.
And so, yeah, we're just super excited to chat with you. Please first tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the BFRB community.
Yeah, and I apologize. I still cannot see you, but I will do my best to speak to the audience here.
I got confirmation from Erica and BFRB Ashley that they can see us, so
lovely.
Don't worry.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, so I'm Mel. I am a holistic strength and wellness coach, and it's really been a full journey coming to where I am today. But I have come into this community through lived experience, like I'm sure many of the other people you have talked to. And it really was just a beautiful way to have other people who get it. I think I didn't even know what the term was until, well, I'll say the term trichotillomania is what I have specifically. I experienced it starting around high school, beginning of high school, and I had no idea what was happening. I also was a chronic nail picker kind of my whole life, and that seemed like a more normal experience to have. But when it came to the hair, that's when things got a little more serious, and I started really feeling that feeling of shame really started to get very loud. And so, yeah, kind of just didn't even know where to turn at that point. There were a lot of things happening personally in my life with my family. And so luckily, my mom was smart enough to put me into talk therapy, which was a beautiful avenue for me to go down because I just did not know who to talk to about this issue. I didn't know anyone that even remotely had it. And at the time in high school, I was in cheerleading and gymnastics, which are two very visual appearance driven sports. And that just made it immensely more difficult to show up and really feel like I could actually be my full self. I always felt like I had something to hide. And so having talk therapy was a really beautiful tool because I actually had someone who could listen, and even though she didn't necessarily understand what it was, she was willing to learn, and that was so helpful. And that just brought me down the road of finding other modalities of what else can help me. It did turn into kind of this entire road of trying to figure out what are the things that are kind of making it worse. And so I got very introspective with myself and just started to take notice of when I do this seems to make the problem worse. So a few examples are like when I am not sleeping well, when I'm not drinking a lot of water, staying hydrated, when I'm not moving my body. And this took years for me to even put two and two together, but it really started to become just this link of what am I doing that could potentially, or when I have an episode of this happening, what was going on that maybe perpetuated that. And so there were a lot of links between those things. And I started to just get very aware of my habits. And so that's kind of what really brought me down this path of holistic type of healing. I got super passionate about just understanding what different types of tools are out there that we can use, that we don't need to necessarily take a pill or find some external source. We can actually take control ourselves. Like, what are the small micro day-to-day things that we can adjust and go from there? And yeah, that's kind of what brought me down this road.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I think we also here at Habit Aware just advocate for those lifestyle changes, right? Like you mentioned water and hydration, right? Like the little thing, it's the little things that add up to your hands getting noisy is sort of how we kind of explain it, right? That those unwanted behaviors. So, um, you know, like I'm anxious right now because I just had a meeting with my team of how the week's going to go. And I'm like, I have two really big projects on my plate and not a lot of time this week, right? So I'm feeling anxious. And then on top of that, my water's all the way over there. So I'm like, and then now, okay, my eyelashes are like starting to tingle, right? So, but I'm aware, like you're saying, right? What is the why behind it? And then I know is we're going to have a great conversation now, and then I'm going to go take a walk with my dog so that I can reset and that kind of thing, right? So even though I'm anxious about all this work, then the answer is not dive right into it. The answer is take care of me first so that I can concentrate better when I actually sit down to do it. So that's so beautiful. I have a question for you. So your handle is Metal Lotus Coach. Can you tell me? I just love this name because it's so like kind of contradictory, right? Like metal is something hard and strong, and then lotus is, I immediately think of the flower and just soft petals, and um, both have beauty to them. Metal is shiny, right? The shiny object, and obviously flowers are always bringing joy. But how did you come up with that name for your coaching?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. First of all, you'd be surprised how little I get asked this question, and I love to explain it because I think it was such a interesting coincidence of how it came together. So my first and middle name are Melody Tatiana, and my last initial is L, and so I'm married now, but my initial prior to getting married was also L, coincidentally. So if you take the first two letters of my first and middle name with that last letter, it spells metal. And I found that out. I noticed it just a couple years ago, and I was like, that's really cool
Yeah.
because I've been in the strength training world for over a decade. And so I love, actually, I love metal music as well, which is kind of funny. But I love like grinding under weight. And so there's a lot of metal in the gym. And lotus is something that just has such beautiful symbolism in meditation, in like Buddhist culture, which I'm not necessarily Buddhist, but I've done a lot of studying with that symbolism. And it really culminates so much of the work that I do. In my training, I'm specialized for pre-postnatal, which brings so much practicality for even those who are not in those stages of life. But a lotus can also represent rebirth and like blooming, and it just has so much beautiful symbolism that, yeah, and like to your point, I love the dynamic of the metal and the lotus together. So I thought it was just such an awesome combination.
It's so poetic because even at Habit Aware, right, our MO is awareness to summon the strength to choose love. So you have like awareness and then the metal and the lotus, like it takes so much strength to choose love, right? The easy knee-jerk reaction is, oh, Anila, what's wrong with you? Why did you pull out your hair? Versus it taking strength to say, wait, that is not how I want to talk to myself. I want to show myself love and compassion and not like fuel the shame, right? And so I love um, that balance of metal and lotus. It's the strength and it's the strength to be soft, right? The strength for softness. Like it it's easy to be a jerk. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to fuel your life with hate and use hate as your fuel. It takes so much more strength to slow down, to pause and say no to those behaviors, to know to those that to fear and choose love. So I love I had to ask because I just it was such it's just such a beautiful name. Um And as we kind of talked about, I sort of just alluded to kind of this idea of like shame and isolation with people with BFRBs, and you kind of talked about as you shared your early history. How did embracing holistic wellness help you shift that shameful relationship with yourself?
Yeah, I love what you said about learning to love yourself and learning how to check in with that voice in the mind, because that I feel like is such a through line for so many BFRB experiences and for mine as well. And so, yeah, this entire journey and beyond in the future as I continue to move through life, it's a continual practice of checking in. What is that voice saying? What do I choose not to believe, and what do I choose to believe? Because there are thoughts that we can have that aren't necessarily true. And there are thoughts that we can consciously have that are true and that we can emphasize better habits. And so holistic healing has been just so many things, like you said, mindset, the practices like I spoke about earlier. But it really has been just having that checklist of things that continues to grow for me personally, but it's just been so many practices coming together. So I think with talk therapy, that really was the first step in me really understanding what are the stories my mind continues to tell me that I haven't even really noticed aren't necessarily mine. They could be from other people, they could be from other places. And so just awareness is step one for everything. So learning where, like, what are the patterns?
Yeah.
And then it just branched out into so many other things. And it really, holistic is just a culmination of like what are the practices you can do that are in your control, that you don't necessarily need to go to a doctor and get a prescription, that you don't necessarily need to have some external stimulus, that are things that we can do to kind of shift the momentum of where we are. And so things like movement, you don't need anything to move. You don't even need to necessarily get up. You can just change your position. Um, Having water, like we said. But then as I've gotten deeper into coaching and training, I really started to learn the importance of nutrition and learning where my body might have some deficiencies. And in that case, then I may need some extra support. And so a huge journey of mine in these past couple of years has actually been working with a functional practitioner to check my gut health, and that has made a huge difference in the way that I like digest foods and the way that my body reacts to different things, and that has made a whole difference in my mood and like just such a downstream effect of different things. And one thing I can blabber on all day about is breath. So I'm also a breathwork facilitator, and it is one of the most transformative practices I've introduced into my life. And so, yeah, breath is like holistic and beyond. We all have it from the day we're born till the day we die. And there are ways that we can manipulate the breath to lean into different types of feelings, or to shift out of different feelings, or to help us focus, or to downregulate, and so many things. So, yeah, it's just been so much learning and just being curious about like, maybe like what is something that I just naturally do that helps me be in a better mood, or vice versa. So yeah, it's just so much curiosity around holistic health.
I love that. So, shattering shame, leveraging holistic wellness techniques. What I heard was mindset shifts. I heard movement, and it doesn't need to be big movement, right? Like as you were talking, I was like, I'm going to stretch because I need to right now, right? So it could be right where you are, sedentary. There was a comment about at times you're forced to be stationary, traveling, rest, trying to rest. What are your favorite tools? And someone else followed up, Erica. So that was Allie, and then Erica followed up with curious as well. I pull the worst when driving. So again, like, yes, you may be sort of in a fixed area, but there are so many tools at your disposal, right? Just as our hands are at our disposal, our breath is at our disposal. Our, positive affirmations are at our disposal. We can stretch at the stoplight. We can drink water while we're in the car. We can hang on to a fidget. I don't know, Mel, are there if driving is a kind of high pulling time for you. Do you have any strategies there?
Yeah, driving used to be a huge pulling time for me. And two of my favorite strategies are checking in with the breath, because I think a lot of times when we're driving, we're just naturally in like a more reactive, sympathetic, like upregulated type of state. And so just checking, like, okay, is my breath stuck in my chest? Can I just allow that to lengthen a little bit? Can I lengthen the exhale? Can I let out a sigh? Sighs are so magical and they're such a great way to reset. Just like let out any noise, whatever. If you're in the car alone, like who cares what you look or sound like? So breath is number one. And then number two is gratitude. Like
Mhm.
when you get stuck at a stoplight and you're upset about it, how can you shift that awareness to what am I grateful for in this moment?
Yeah.
Like, how can I check in? What are the things that have happened today? Like, what are the micro moments that like helped me stay in a better mood or whatever it is. So I think breath and gratitude you can do wherever in whatever situation.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And then training your mind to look for the good, right? It's like at the stoplight. I'm blessed because our drive to school is just trees or lakes and it's just gorgeous. So if I get to a red light, I just look over. As I was driving
Mm.
back home today, actually, I got stuck at a red light. I was kind of annoyed because like one car in front of me, like just go through the yellow so that I can go too. But no, got stopped at
Yeah.
the red. I'm from New York, living in Minneapolis, so I drive a little. I'm a New Yorker when it comes
Yeah.
to driving. If
Well,
I
I'm right
wasn't
outside
doing
of
this,
Chicago, so
yeah,
yeah, I feel you.
if I wasn't doing this, I'd be a taxi driver in New York City probably. But I looked over and oh, it was just so beautiful to see the clouds over the lake, and the city's done a beautiful job with some uh, new road work, which has taken a while, but sunflowers growing in the middle, and it was just so beautiful, right? I wouldn't have seen that if I didn't get to that stoplight. So just kind of that idea of gratitude, and I always kind of think, okay, like I was stopped here for a reason, right? Like whatever, and like that just helps me sort of stay on a good positive note. Allie asks, do you think caffeine worsens the craving? So I guess the craving for the pulling. And so you touched on nutrition and the importance of nutrition. Walk us through what you've seen with caffeine in your own life, or with your nutritionist and the gut health.
Yeah, I will just speak from personal experience because everyone's different, but yes, caffeine has been like it plays a major role. For me, I am very sensitive to caffeine, to like bright light and other factors. But yeah, caffeine for sure has been something that I have essentially completely cut out. I'll do like a green tea every now and then, but very minimal caffeine intake. I find it just has more negative effects for me personally than positive. Um, but I will say, like, if you're someone who feels like you need caffeine, just pay attention to the time of day you take it, because depending on the caffeine, coffee in general has about, like, it stays in your system for about 8 hours, and it has a half life, or sorry, I should say it has about a half life of 8 hours. So after 8 hours, you still have about half of the caffeine in your system. And so it really is dependent on the time of the day, especially if you're taking it afternoon.
Mm,
It can really affect your sleep.
yeah.
And I love my sleep so much because sleep is such a big factor for me too. So yeah, I've really cut it out. And I find that I don't even need it. I don't crave it. It really comes down to how can I get better quality sleep? What am I doing that is affecting that? And breath work. I just came off of a live breath work session with a small group, and one of the participants, it was his first time joining, and he was like, I have a meeting in 30 minutes. I was either debating on taking a nap or doing breath work, and I'm so glad I did breath work because I don't even need a nap anymore. Like, it's such a natural energy
Yeah.
source, and there's so many ways that we can use it that we may not know about. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, now that you're talking about caffeine, I just realized I got a medium latte today. I treated myself today. Usually I make coffee at home, and when I do that, it's like the right balance of milk and coffee and milk more so. But I went out today and I now know that there's 2 shots in that cup of coffee, and it's probably adding to my anxiety, right? I'm not used to it. And so just careful, wean yourself off. You got to be careful with it. You got to move slow, little bit, but see how it works, right? See how it affects you. Work with the nutritionist. I know one of the things I've also done is cut soda as much as possible. So I used to drink like Coke quite regularly, not every day, but now it's like so infrequent, and water is my go-to. So,
Yeah.
Erica, as you're talking about poor nutrition choices, yeah, it's going to make it worse. That's again the part of that holistic healing, right? It's mind, body, soul. Got to feed all of those really, really well to take care of so that you can take care of yourself, right? And so that you don't need to take care of yourself because you're taking care of yourself. Um, and I completely, and Erica also talks about the texture of the hair, skin, nails gets brittle and dry if we don't, right? A day out, like a weekend of drinking, and oh, you got the headaches, and then the skin feels tighter, and like there's all these things that are reacting to what we're putting in our body. So 100% nutrition is so important. Um, Mel, I love that you're talking about breath work. We hosted you for a breath work session a few months ago. Maybe we can do that again soon so that we can get everyone
Yes.
to experience that. And a few of the things that we talked about, just want to point folks to the chat I just had with Linda Hollitz um, around some of the same things around nutrition and high sensitivity of lights and things like that that you can kind of look at to see again how can you change your environment and your lifestyle and start preempting these behaviors. I am looking to some other. Erica wrote some tips for driving, calm wordless music. That's a great one. String fringe keychain. That's also wonderful. Um, and yep, all right. Thank you, Ashley, for sharing some of those tips. Um, so Mel, tell us a little bit more about breath work. Like, what's it doing? Like, yes, ancient wisdom has incorporated breath into yoga and movement and meditation for centuries. What's the science behind it? How is it helping someone with a BFRB?
Yeah, there is so much science behind it. I will direct anyone to the book Breath by James Nestor. That is really what was like the light bulb moment for me. It is an amazing book that really goes so in depth, but in a very digestible way of like how breath can really affect us. But I will say that your breath is essentially a direct reflection of your nervous system. And so you can see this in many different ways. And especially you can just with the example we brought up before, like in traffic, it's so common that we're tense, we're stressed, and we realize when we check in, our breath is just stuck in our chest and it's really shallow. And so that's a direct reflection that we are in a very upregulated state, and which is also referred to as the sympathetic nervous system state. And then you can see when you're a little bit more calm, when you're sleeping, your breath is a lot more gentle, it's a lot more slow. And so it's a direct mirror of your central nervous system state. And there is no perfect nervous system state is also a thing I want to make sure everyone is aware of, because a lot of times people think, oh, I need to be regulated in my nervous system, which means I always need to be calm and at peace with everything. And that is not true at all. Like a regulated nervous system means that you have the ability to flow back and forth to these different states with ease. And the more that you practice intentionally, the easier it will get. But life will always be throwing things at us. So it's a constant way that we can continue to check in, continue to use the tools that we have, and just come back to balance. So that is a huge part of breath work, is understanding how we can actually feel that shift in our nervous system. But on a very baseline level, we can just use breath to create awareness around how we want to feel. So there are so many amazing ways to use breath work. And even when it comes to just emotional regulation, you can just use it to bring you back to focus. There's a great practice that's called a box breath. I'm sure many people have heard of it, where it's essentially kind of an even count of an inhale, a pause, an exhale, a pause. And that's a really beautiful way to either help you focus or to help you kind of come back into presence and to downregulate a little bit. And there are ways that you can manipulate the count for different outcomes. But yeah, it's a mood shifter. Breath can help you better like digest your food, because when you're in a stressed state, your body doesn't necessarily want to relax and digest. But if you can get yourself there, then you'll have an easier way of like very practically digesting your food. Also very practically, like with movement, there are ways that we can actually breathe more efficiently, so we can be positioned in a different way. We can have more explosiveness. We can have better energy to perform different movements. But when it comes to actually, I'll dive into specifically for trichotillomania. First of all, I feel that when we're in kind of this trance state of like being in it, we feel like we can't get out of it. That typically is a very clear sign we're in an upregulated state. We're very tight, we're upregulated, we're stressed, and the body has all of these signals that we're there. So we can consciously use the breath to be like, okay, even though maybe my mind doesn't want to calm down, I can come from the body first. When you come from like a down up type of practice, so body to mind, the mind will react to that. And so when you can actually implement practices, one thing I love to implement is an inhale, squeeze the hands, and then exhale, relax the hands. And it's a beautiful way to tell the body like, okay, I see you're tense. I'm going to meet you there. And then I'm going to relax, and you're going to remember that you can relax, and then just keep doing that as many times as you need to. And at some point, the feedback will come, the mind will settle a little bit, and if it starts back up again, you can start to repeat it. So, yeah, before I go down too far of a rabbit hole, those are just a few of the amazing ways that it can help.
And as you talked about the power of breath, I lived the power of breath. I jumped into a box breath rhythm there just now, and I feel, 15 minutes ago I was saying I feel so anxious, and now, oof, I feel so light. So like there is so much power to your breath. And I even remember once, I don't remember who said it or where I heard it, or it was a research-backed statement that talked about how by age 5 our breath becomes shallow. And you can even test this on yourself. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can sit there and breathe quickly, and then you'll see your nervous system. You can get yourself into anxiety, right? And then just the opposite. I was just breathing slowly for 3 minutes, and I'm feeling calm and relaxed and more hope than I was feeling before with my to-do list today, right? So
Mm-hmm.
breath is really, really powerful.
Yeah. And I'll also say to that point of, yes, we can absolutely kind of instigate that anxiousness in the body with the breath. But one thing that has been so huge in my own path of learning with breath work is that it really is about the intention. So obviously you don't want to do a crazy energizing breath if you're already in this stressed out state.
Yeah.
But there are ways that we can shift that mindset from anxiousness to just energy and to excitement. And sometimes it takes practice and you may need a coach to help guide you through it because it may feel unsafe in the body if all you've learned is that upregulation is unsafe and it's anxious.
Right.
But there are ways that we can start to use more upregulating breaths to just give you more energy. I feel like
Yeah.
one thing that's a really unfortunate side of trichotillomania is after an episode of having it. This was me just last week on a work trip. I had a really terrible bout of it, and you just feel so drained after, and it really is so discouraging. And sometimes you need to like bring your energy levels up without stressing yourself out. So there are ways to do that,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, those quick breaths, there's definitely a place for them in peacemaking as well. I mean, if you even think about labor, the he he he, it's like a faster a breath there, and then there's something called laughing yoga, which is again like more quick breaths and joy, right? Because you're laughing, you're creating endorphins in your brain, and as you're doing that, so there's definitely place for it. And yeah, I think that's right. Like the intention, right? Like holding your breath, yes, part of the natural process of calming you, but also if done in with incorrect techniques can also make you anxious. So it is good to work with someone like you that has that insight and expertise there on how to harness the power of breath.
Yeah.
Um, which actually leads me to great way to kind of wrap up. Mel, if someone's curious about breath work or holistic coaching, but it's a little intimidating, right? Like up, up, down, how do you do it, right? What's a first next right step that they can take? Something that's actionable, attainable, feels likely to do.
Yeah. I'd say check out my page. I have a ton of different posts that I've made about different breathwork techniques. I also have, if anyone has used Insight Timer, it's a free meditative app. I have a handful of free guided audios that are like quick breathwork practices. If you have any questions, I mean, just DM me directly on Instagram. I love to just talk about this stuff, and I'm totally an open book, so feel free to reach out directly. I'm also hosting every other week. Today was one of those weeks, but every other week through the rest of the year, I'm doing a midday reset session. So those are live through Zoom. And I also offer one-on-ones. So if you are interested, I am so flexible with these one-on-one sessions. It can just be an introductory, like just getting to know you, getting to understand what is your goal, and I can introduce a few practices. Or if you're looking for something more long-term, we can definitely discuss that. But yeah, I'm super flexible. I'm super open. I'd also just say one thing that has served me so well over the years is just searching in whatever podcast platform you look for. If you're a podcast person, look up a topic, and there are probably so many podcasts about it.
Yep.
That's one way I just started opening doors to new people, new experts. I just got curious about different topics and I would see who I liked listening to more than others, and I would just follow down that road. But yeah, there are just so many ways to access these things nowadays.
Awesome. So please give a follow to Melody and check out her breath work every other week sessions or maybe one-on-one with Melody and all the other resources that are accessible. I mean, yes, like these breathing technique tips are all over, pretty commonplace now, but it's always good to connect with someone that also knows BFRBs through lived experience. So I'm hopeful that you will connect with Melody and um, remember the metal lotus. Remember that there is strength in being soft with yourself and with others. There's strength in choosing love, and that's what our BFRB is asking us to do. It's asking you to choose yourself, to choose the next loving right action, whether it's a sip of water, a deep breath, a stretch, or going for a walk or listening to rock music in the car or classical music in the car, right? It's got to be what's right for you, tailored to you. So thank you, the Metal Lotus coach, for that beautiful visual I have now of a metal lotus in my head of be strong and soft together. Um, Well, it was just so wonderful to chat with you, and it seems like the folks in the chat have gotten some good insights and inspiration from you. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Anila. It was so good to chat with you, and for everyone who joined, thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Wishing everyone love, strength, and awareness. Until tomorrow. Bye.